Welcome back to another evolution video. My name is Fiber and today we're going through the evolution of Raft. If you didn't know already, Raft is a survival game developed by Red Bee Interactive. Trapped on a small raft with nothing but a hook. Your mission? Survive an epic oceanic adventure across the perilous sea. You gather items to survive and expand your raft whilst being wary of the hazards in the ocean. Play by yourself or with your friends in this action-packed survival game. First testable prototype, October 27th, 2016. Originally in the prototype, Raft only consisted of 3 main features: hooking debris, expanding the raft, and harvesting plants. This was the baseline, where the developers would soon add a lot more things to do within the game. The game was also available on Google Drive. This is where the community would give feedback to the creators, giving them constructive criticism to make the game more enjoyable. In the second ever update for Raft, a number of features were implemented into the game: fishing, cooking, purifying water, hunger, and a thirst system. This was the start, where Raft would seem to be more like a survival game. You can see how different the graphics look within the game. Although it may not be a huge difference, there's still a difference present. Some may say Raft not being too intense on the graphics card may be a good thing. This allows more people with less abled PCs to play the game, while not taking anything away from the experience. Finally, in the third and final update for Raft, prior to moving to the itch.io platform, a few more changes were made, updating the building in the game as well as the UI. Furthermore, potentially one of the main factors of the game was confirmed: the idea of the shark. This would change the way people played the game, keeping them constantly on their toes and wary of their surroundings. itch.io, December 16th, 2016. Raft was finally released on the itch.io platform. This gave the developers of Raft access to a larger community to gain even more feedback from, to slowly, as we mentioned before, improve the game and make it a more enjoyable experience. The idea of the shark was now added into the game, swimming around the raft and attacking when it finds an opportunity to do so. It will also occasionally attack your raft and damage it, forcing you to constantly improve your base. Additionally, barrels were also added into the game. Looting these barrels would give players access to more items, helping them on their journey. Over time, you'll see the graphics of Raft slowly improving. Like I mentioned before, the graphics in the game aren't amazing, but small textures, shaders, and effects will be added over time, making the game more appealing. Skipping over to pre-release version 1.04, the shark received a few buffs in order to make him a higher threat to players, increasing his health as well as his damage. The developers are also providing support to the Mac OS and Linux OS users, reaching as many people as possible to play the game. Pre-release version 1.05. This was the last update before the game was released for early access on Steam. Only a small number of things were added, such as chairs, tables, and lanterns, with a few bug fixes and graphic changes to the game, prepping it up for its early access release. After further tweaks to the beta version of the game, Raft was finally available on Steam on the 23rd of May 2018. The game grew massively popular, as it had access to a way larger audience than it had before. Following the release of Raft on Steam, the game received consecutive updates to fix bugs and modify items, the most important ones being Update 1.02, the addition of the basic bow and stone arrows. This is probably the most essential item of combat for players coming into the game. Instead of scaring birds away from feeding off your crops, the basic bow now allows you to snipe those pesky little seagulls. When killed, they can drop feathers and drumsticks that players could feast on. An option to change your field of view allowed players to have greater awareness of the sharks trying to destroy your beautiful raft that took days to get resources for. Following update 1.03, the game received a lot of constructive feedback and ideas on expanding the features and concepts of the game. This allowed the game to add the metal axe. Various players complained about the lack of durability the stone axe had, as it was constantly in use to chop down trees, break misplaced structures, and sometimes fight off sharks. As a result of this, the addition of the metal axe allowed players to overcome these problems. Although it may seem a bit weird, crouching was just added into the game. Yeah, I know, a basic movement function. It allowed players to build small passageways on their raft, probably to conserve space. The introduction of Update 5 brought multiple blocks that following patch: triangular half foundations, roofs, floors, as well as the ability to place all building blocks diagonally. This change almost certainly made the game more enjoyable, as players were indulged in the pleasure of building their much wanted round lighthouse or pirate ship to sail the 7 seas. Quick build and paint was also added, allowing you to customize your awesome rafts without destroying your left click. Now it's a lot easier. All you have to do is hold it down and drag it along. Another addition to this update was a help center and pause menu. They also added the ability to safely leave the game without having to worry about the thousands of hours spent upgrading your raft. As well as this, the respawn timer for the shark, who somehow is named Bruce, was increased from 100 to 180 seconds, giving you room to breathe after Bruce constantly eats your raft every once in a while. Update 6 certainly brought along alters to mechanics in the game. Food was most certainly an important factor for survival, but it was very hard to obtain, especially seeds for sustainable farms. The drop rate of pineapple and watermelon seeds increased to 60%, as well as flower seeds to 50%, allowing you to enjoy the small luxuries in life. Eating juicy watermelons and pineapples as the sun sets, or painting your raft completely rainbow without having to worry about if you will run out of paint. A small optimization was made to collection nets, decreasing the maximum items in the collection nets to 10. This increased performance for players, especially with large rafts with many nets. Update 7 brought in new content and features for players to enjoy. Large islands were now in the game. These were detected by following the beeps on the receiver after getting to the radio tower. These islands played a key role in the new advanced cooking system, containing natural resources exclusively found on them. With the addition of these cool, amazing islands, Red Bee Interactive created another annoying creature who guards these large islands. The Screecher. This bird will attack you on sight, bombarding you with rocks if you get too close to the island. Great. First we had to deal with sharks, now we have this annoying bird. You can shoot it down using the bow and arrow, or, to assert your dominance, you could run it down and fight it in a spear battle. Players swimming around the large islands will be attacked by a cute but extremely toxic and deadly pufferfish who roam the reef of these islands, protecting the loot and resources it contains. Be sure not to get too close, or the fish will blow its guts all up in your face. In-game chat was now added to Raft, allowing you to scream for help when the lovely sharks, I mean when Bruce, comes and bites your limbs off. By far the best part of this update was the addition of the new hats that you could equip. You can now display your victory by wearing the heads of these annoying pests you've killed. In the past you could only obtain a shark head, but following this update, the new hats included the Screecher head and the Poison Puffer head. Update 8 brought a peaceful mode, with updates to hard mode. Peaceful mode has the same settings as easy mode, but with the added features of enemies being passive. This gave a more calm, relaxing, aesthetic game for you to explore without the worries of mobs attacking or hurting you. Within hard mode, for the more challenging aspects of the game, there is now a chance of multiple sharks spawning when killing one. The shark will also attack in a more frequent but random pattern, which makes for a more exciting gameplay. Third person mode was introduced into the game, as well as foundation armor to reinforce foundations, making it untargetable for the sharks. So you'll be able to completely fortify your raft and not worry about Bruce and his gang of sharks attacking your raft any longer. Update 9 was a big milestone in what we knew Raft could be. The domesticated update introduced 3 new animals onto your raft: the llama, the goat, and the clucker, which produce wool, milk, and eggs respectively. You could also name these animals to keep track of who is who. However, following the addition of these animals, the warthog was also introduced, which is another hostile mob on the large islands that when killed drops leather to create clothing. For instance, a backpack, which provides players with 10 additional inventory slots. To catch these nimble animals, a net launcher was also launched to save you the need of chasing after them. Get it? It's a net launcher and it launches nets at animals. Okay. Grass plots were introduced to encapsulate these animals in a comfortable environment on your raft. To craft these, you need to gather dirt from large islands using a shovel, and once placed and obtained, water the grass to allow your animals to survive by feeding off it. Rather than eating food or sleeping to regain health, seeing as cluckers now produce eggs, eggs were now an ingredient when crafting a health slave. Salve, not slave, salve. The salve is a quicker way to heal if you don't feel like waiting too long. Update 9.04 introduced sprinklers, radios, and the captain's hat. The sprinkler was used to water grass plots or crop plots, which are used to feed animals caught on large islands. The radio is a miscellaneous item which is found on the shipwreck island, more specifically inside the abandoned ship. The radio plays various types of music using cassette tapes, which can be found by using a metal detector on the islands. Update 10, the first chapter update. This was released on December 3rd, 2019. Of course, adding onto the storyline. It also adds a range of new mechanic items, such as the engine, biofuel, and the steering wheel. You can obtain biofuel by combining honey and raw food items inside a biofuel refiner. With this fuel, you could power an engine, acquired through a blueprint found progressing further into the Raft story. This allowed players to traverse across the ocean at a more rapid pace in relation to exploring the storyline in more depth. The steering wheel is a navigation item, granting players the ability to rotate the raft in any direction that they wish. New entities were also introduced. Lurkers, found on Vasagatan, and bears found on Balboa Island. Update 11, the Beehive update, was a major update for Raft, released on February 14th, 2020. The addition of beehives, sweep nets, bee jar, and honeycomb. Beehives can be made once the player has made sweep nets and used it to catch bee swarms found on evergreen biome. Once built, the beehives may provide the player with a steady source of honey. The beehives need to be placed in a crop plot filled with flowers. It takes approximately 8 minutes to gather honeycomb into the beehive. Honeycomb, together with eggs and clay, can create a good healing salve. Raft has seen a lot of content being added onto the game to progress the storyline and greatly improve the quality of life gameplay. Now moving on to the final update of Raft, Update 12, one of the biggest and most recent update for Raft, released on October 20th, 2020. This brought around the second chapter of Raft, adding even more onto the storyline. To start off, new mobs were added into the game. Mudhogs, which are found on the new Caravan Island, and Butler bots, which are found on the also new Tangaroa Island. As well as these 2 large islands being added, 3 smaller islands were also added. Back to the large islands, Caravan Island consists of a town known as Caravan Town, which spreads over 3 pinnacles with a tower built of containers right in the middle. Bridges and zip lines, which is also a new addition into the game, connected to the pinnacles, allowing for easier travel between the pinnacles on the island. The second large island, Tangaroa, is a massive location that consists of metallic circular foundation with a honeycomb pattern surrounding it. A whole city is located within the dome, full of apartment buildings that can be explored. This location is by far the most complex in the game, both in terms of the amount of intricate places to explore and the amount of puzzles that you can solve. Along with this, a bunch of new items were added into Raft. The battery charger, electric purifier, and fireworks, just to name a few. It's kinda crazy that they're adding these things now. I mean, when you look back at it a few years ago, no one would have even thought to add all of these items and islands into the game. Oh, and we can't forget about the biggest add this update. The piano. Now you and your friends can dance and sing as Brewster vows your raft while sailing the 7 seas. So that's a general overview of Raft. Do you guys enjoy the game? If so, let me know down in the comments. And while you're at it, you may as well leave a like and share this video with your friends. It helps us out tremendously. Thank you so much for watching and I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in another evolution video.